Ruslan.
One of the things I've talked about on this channel before, and some people tend to disagree with me, but it's okay because I am politically agnostic. I do not have a party. I do not have someone that I think is absolutely right, whether it's Democrats, Republicans, whatever, is this idea of Governor Newsom in California just kind of overstepping his boundaries and some of his legislative power with regards to how he's handled the lockdown. If you guys don't know, there's a recall effort happening right now in California. And some people, what they want to do is they want to paint it as this thing of like, oh, it's just the MAGA guys. They're just fringe conspiracy theorists that want to dethrone Governor Newsom because they're anti-science. And he's tweeted some of this stuff. It's real goofy. And it's frustrating because I'm very far from MAGA anything, okay? And I think Governor Newsom needs to be recalled. And it's because of stuff like this. MyChristianDaily.com is reporting this story. Supreme Court rejects California ban on prayer, worship, and home studies. In a huge victory, in a 5-4 decision, the U.S. Supreme Court stopped California from prohibiting prayer, worship, and small home Bible studies. This may seem like an April Fool's joke, but Governor Newsom made it illegal for 12 months for Christians to pray, worship, or have home Bible studies in California. The court agreed this government mandate violated Christians' First Amendment rights. This ruling comes about a month after the court issued an emergency injunction against California limits on indoor worship services. This new ruling says it also applies to homes. The petitioners noted that the current government mandated limit does not permit an individual to gather with others in her home, backyard, to study the Bible, pray, worship with members of more than 2 households, and all of which are common and deeply important. And then this is interesting. Californians can sit for a haircut with 10 other people in a barbershop, eat in a half-full restaurant with members of 20 different families, or ride with 15 different people on a city bus, but they cannot host 3 people from different households for a Bible study indoors or in the backyard. Sheesh, right? So lower courts had previously voted against Christians, but the Supreme Court's restrictions constructionists who voted for religious freedom where justice is clear and so on and so forth. The court made these important points. So now everything is slowly starting to open up. And I'm not one of those folks that's anti-mask. I told you guys a story of how my wife teased me for double masking. Guys, it's not the energy I'm on. But what I am on is saying quite simply, hey, listen, if the science is always changing and if things are always evolving, then we have to be flexible with what's coming out. Instead of allowing the government these ironclad, I'm going to do what I want, tell you to stay home and don't you dare question me, I have your best interest in mind. It's hogwash because the same thing happened after 9/11. If you guys don't remember, 9/11 happened, and guess what? The Patriot Act passed, and all of a sudden, the government had more access to some private information than ever before. Not the best look in terms of privacy, not the best look in terms of a lot of different things. Phone tapping, wiretaps, all kinds of things went up after 9/11, and we're seeing the same thing that when you give up certain rights, and I'm not saying that everybody who is okay with lockdowns is blindly following. I'm just saying at some point we do need to be skeptical and we do need to question. Not because I think there's a mass conspiracy to want to control you and to do some crazy agenda and get your DNA with the vaccine. I'm not on any of that. I'm not on any of that. Listen, if you just keep letting them do and push and push and push and push and push restrictions, at some point you got to stop. And here's the deal. Any of this, I was keeping up with the numbers, the per capita numbers in Texas and Florida and in California. Texas and Florida have been way looser with their lockdowns, and California has been one of the most locked down states in the country. And when I saw, and you can look this up, I'm not making this up, go look at the per capita numbers. The rate of hospitalizations, the rate of infection, and the rate of death has been the same per capita. If that's the case, then at some point we have to say, okay, you know what? We thought that this was the thing. Initially, they told us what? Don't mask. You shouldn't mask. Cloth masks don't do anything. The only masks that do anything is N95. And so for a while, nobody masked. And then all of a sudden, everybody masks. And now we're double masking. And now we're masking even after having the vaccine. On another level, you say, hey, let's look at the science and let's see what the science is saying. Oh, the science is evolving. It's changing. States like Texas and Mississippi lifted their mask mandate, and yet still their numbers are dropping. Maybe because they're doing good vaccine stuff. Maybe because people are reaching herd immunity. I don't know. What I do find frustrating, Dr. Fauci, who I don't think is a bad guy, I don't think he's some agenda lizard person, reptile, is telling people to double mask even after wearing a vaccine. Respect. You still don't know if you could spread it because the vaccine just alleviates your symptoms, more or less. Respect. I get it. Now, What he's not telling people, and he is answering truthfully when he's asked, is stuff like, hey, how much vitamin C are you getting? He's getting like 7,000, whatever measures of, interesting, 7,000? 7,000, the daily allotted recommended amount is like 700. Why are you getting 7,000 and not telling the general public ways that they could boost their immune system in case they do get it to fight it off? Why are we not talking about common sense approaches to, oh, I don't know, maybe losing weight? I don't know, maybe cutting out processed foods and processed sugars. I don't know, increasing your vitamin D supplement, going outside so you can get vitamin D. You need about 20, 30 minutes of sunlight. If you're in a state that's cold and gloomy half the year, maybe you should get some vitamin D. Maybe all of us should get more vitamin D, vitamin C. They're not talking about this, and they're going straight for lockdowns. They're going straight for more restrictions. If you have a different of opinion on it, and you're saying, hey, let's just stop for a moment, okay? Because there's been a lot of conflicting stuff. Let's just admit that, you know, a lot of us are speculating and a lot of us are in good faith looking at the science, but a lot of folks just also don't know what they're talking about. Everybody thinks they're an expert, and some folks aren't the most brightest or consistent in these areas. I don't want to say brightest, but the most consistent in areas. It's not as clean and it's not as linear as the media would have us believe. That there is something to these states having looser restrictions and not having these wild outbreaks where everybody's dying. That's not what's happening in Texas, not what's happening in Florida, not what's happening in Mississippi. When this compounds to me and you being able to what? Fellowship, being able to what? Gather and study the word of God, and they're going to tell you you can't do that, or worse, look at what's going on in Canada. They're going to pull up and shut you down and try to pull grandma out of your house. That happened in Canada. They're gonna put pastors in jail. That's where it's like, whoa, this is some real like Black Mirror vibes, okay? Canada and Ontario, they came out and said that the police officers could pull you over and ask you where you're going and if you're allowed to be out. Like, that's some real bizarre dystopian vibes. And I don't think we're that far removed from it if we all just check out and just go, oh, government, benevolent government, always good. They have our best interest in mind. Government is neither bad nor good. They can make mistakes. They can go off of information that's not the most current. Asking people. So we got to have some balance. We got to have some just scales here. I'm not perpetuating being anti-mask, being anti-vax. I'm not on any of that, okay? I still wear masks all the time. So much so that my wife teases me about it. And at the same time, I think, hey, maybe we need to look more into these. Maybe we just don't need to blindly follow. When this thing first started, yes, it was scary. We were terrified. 2 weeks of hard lockdowns, and then things should get back to normal. A year later, and some of you guys are cool with indefinitely wearing masks for the rest of your life. Like, at some point, there's gonna be pandemics. There's gonna be new viruses. These things are gonna happen. Those are my thoughts on it. Be safe, be careful, follow the protocol. Let me know what you guys think about this video. Am I bugging? You think I've gone off the deep end? I really do want to hear from you guys, because I think every time somebody has an opposing position, they're always otherized and they're always getting pushback, and that's very unfortunate. So those are my thoughts on it. Let me know what you guys think.
Kingstream Entertainment. Ruslan